Xbox is using AI to make games, but before you type your angry comment, let's actually talk about what that means. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about this blog post from Xbox last week that digs into Muse, a generative AI model for gameplay according to the title. And let's be real, that title sounds a little iffy. Now, when this announcement first hit socials, people were expectedly immediately outraged before they even clicked the link, and understandably so, because generative AI is the one type of AI that has most people concerned. From celebrity deepfakes to just straight up blatant disinformation, tons of companies have put easy to use tools right into people's hands to basically make reality whatever they want it to be, or at the very least change how people perceive reality online. But on top of the actual hostile use cases, Gen AI is also being peddled by social media companies with the promise of enhancing people's experience on social media. You've got AI avatars, AI chatbots, AI generated images, AI backgrounds for YouTube Shorts. It's all over the place on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and for the most part, it's got a really bad rap. I mean, on social media, the whole point of sharing something is to showcase the human experience, showing off your view of the world or sharing an idea, not generating eye-catching AI slop. So anyways, Gen AI has a bad rap. Seeing that mixed into the gaming world obviously didn't come off that well either, but let's look past the outrage from the headline and actually take a look at what Xbox is doing here, because this might actually be a pretty good tool for developers that want to use it. Now let's start off with the biggest news. Muse, what Microsoft is calling a generative AI model for gameplay ideation. Now the way they've made this is very interesting. They trained an AI model on actual player gameplay from Bleeding Edge, the Ninja Theory game that was the black sheep of the entire family and never really took off. Muse took time to understand the game world, the game physics, and player reactions that tied back to controller actions. Now, Microsoft says off the bat this technology was developed to explore how generative AI models can support new experiences, focusing on developing AI capabilities that could allow game developers to ideate and expand upon their work in new ways. But ultimately, there are two main use cases they call out right now: reviving nostalgic games and faster creative ideation. They say today countless classic games tied to aging hardware are no longer playable by most people. Thanks to this breakthrough, we're exploring the potential for Muse to take older back catalog games from our studios and optimize them for any device. We believe this could radically change how we preserve and experience classic games in the future and make them accessible to more players. Now, Microsoft has been a huge supporter of backwards compatibility this generation and on the Xbox One. They've got a huge number of original Xbox games and Xbox 360 games running on Xbox One and Series X and S in a time when it seems like that's not really the focus. I mean, PlayStation is painfully lagging behind unless you're willing to throw down the cash to get games from old console catalogs through PlayStation Plus. With Xbox, you just pop in the disc or boot up that digital version and you're good to go. But on top of just making these games available, Xbox has gone the extra mile to improve games where they can, with higher resolutions, higher frame rates, auto HDR, lots of those little quality of life features that can make an original Xbox game or an Xbox 360 game play better than ever, with no extra bells and whistles or emulation on PC or any work from a developer. Now in this case, it sounds like Muse is an evolution of all that, using AI to do whatever it takes to get older games running on newer hardware. And obviously you're going to need a team to fine-tune and tweak these projects to make sure they run the way that they need to preserve that original gameplay experience and feel. But if technology can get developers 70% of the way there by rebuilding a game's engine or recreating lost files, this could be revolutionary for keeping games alive for decades. You know, instead of having them stuck on old hardware that ends up being completely forgotten. But let's get back to the other side of this, faster creative ideation. And in the blog, Microsoft says they interviewed 27 global game creators from indies to AAA studios to make sure the research was shaped by the people who would use it. Which sounds like the right move when you're building any tool, let alone one that's entirely focused on using artificial intelligence in game development. And that sentence alone makes a lot of game developers worried they're going to lose their jobs to a generative AI algorithm. In the video on this blog, they call this the World Human Action Model, that's designed to enable creators to do things that they've never done before, with a focus on what studios actually need to explore ideas more quickly and more deeply than they can with traditional development processes. And all of that's done with a focus on iterative thinking and divergent tweaking, according to Katja Hoffman, the senior principal researcher and lead of the game intelligence team at Microsoft. All of this is coming from that conversation between Hoffman, Phil Spencer himself, and Dom Matthews from Ninja Theory, but out of the entire conversation, which I'll have linked down below if you want to give it a watch, Matthews' perspective on how he looks at this tech in the context of Ninja Theory is the most interesting part. He says that Ninja Theory has not used these tools and will not use these tools, but there's still value in this kind of project for the way that they work.
Technology like this for me, and I think for our studio here at Ninja Theory, is not about using AI to generate content, but it's actually about creating workflows and approaches that allow our team here of 100 creative experts to do more, to go further, to iterate quicker, to ideate quicker, to bring what's the ideas in their heads to life in a tangible form for others to see. So, although this is technology that we haven't used in the creation of our games, and we don't intend to use this technology for the creation of content, I think the interesting aspect for us that is exciting is how can we use technology like this to make the process of making games quicker and easier for our talented team, so that they can really focus on the thing that I think is really special about games, which is that human creativity. Games to me are really creators using the medium of games to talk to their audience, to communicate through the medium of interactivity, and that is core to game creation for me. So what's important with this is that we have the human creativity, but through this technology we can empower them to do more and push their own dreams further than they have been before.
Now, I think we can all look at this interview and see this soundbite from Matthews and see that he's clearly trying to play down concerns without calling out the concerns themselves. No, Ninja Theory is not using AI to generate their next game instead of actually developing it. But with all of that aside, I do love the focus on the human creativity aspect of game development and how this kind of tech can help support that rather than take humans out of the equation and replace it with an algorithm that churns out games that statistically have a high probability to land well. But the biggest part of this announcement that calms my concerns when it comes to this kind of tech in game development is the focus on developer choice. They can use these tools if they want. There's no mandate of Microsoft to push AI into development pipelines where they don't need it. For Xbox, game creators will always be the center of our overall AI efforts. We believe there's a space for traditional game development and future generative AI technologies that serve as an extension of creative work and offer novel experiences. As part of this, we've empowered creative leaders here at Xbox to decide on the use of generative AI. There isn't going to be a single solution for every game or project, and the approach will be based on the creative vision and goals of each team. Now, I still have a lot of questions about how this approach is going to evolve in the future, because Xbox and Microsoft as we know it aren't going to be the way that they are today forever. Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer are going to retire probably in the next 10 years or so. Let's say they're cool with developing these tools as options today, but then the next round of leadership comes in and is forcing experimentation with AI or any other kind of tool that might come along. That's where things could totally go off the rails. But no matter what kind of tools we're talking about here, whether it's a new engine or a generative AI model, the focus should be on giving game developers a palette of tools for them to paint whatever kind of picture they want. As long as the vision they have isn't being held back, then giving them as many tools as possible to make that vision as true to form and as easy to craft as possible, then I think there could be some good potential here. Now, I'm obviously not a game developer, and some people are probably going to get mad and disagree with me on this, but I think one of the most promising aspects of this tech is being able to tap into actual player data to help shape the games. As someone who's a big fan of Halo, I think about what it could look like to have an entire phase lobby with an AI enemy team designed entirely on actual movement from how pro players played during the most recent Halo Championship series. That kind of thing, combined with these promises of better backwards compatibility tech and the potential for AI to make it easier for developers to make the games that they want to make, I'm actually optimistic. Cautiously optimistic, but still optimistic. But of course, I'd love to know what you think down below. What's your first reaction to Muse at Xbox, and how do you think developers are going to use this technology? Do you think it's going to be something that revolutionizes game development, or is it going to be something that's launched and totally forgotten in a year or two? I'd love to know your thoughts. But of course, if you're new here, you like what you see and what you hear, hit that subscribe button for videos like this every week and gaming news shorts throughout the week to keep you in the loop, and I'll catch you on the next one.